Today we've got questions on Hispanic people, modernism, why shouldn't you despair, and Charles opines on whether there are any Republicans deserving of sainthood. Welcome to another episode of Off the Menu. I'm your host, Vincent Franchini from Tumblr House, here with a porcine, Charles Coulombe.
Porcine?
Porcine.
Like a pig?
Like a pig, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you know what? Probably you haven't seen me at Christmas dinner this year, so you don't know. At Christmas dinner, maybe, well, we'll see. Porcine. It's because I'm fat. That's what basically we're talking about.
That from your own words, you come here and,
I blow up like a balloon.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, see, that's the price I pay for ending my exile.
Yeah.
If I moved back here, I'd probably be dead in a year.
Well, at the rate that people treat you out, perhaps, I guess. Oh, it's such a suffering. It's such a suffering.
First world problems. Well, it's worse than you think, though. I mean, I am having really first world problems.
Yeah?
I mean, terrible first world problems.
Go on.
Well, I can't get any decent place for my detachable collars, my collarless dress shirt, and my formal things. So I had to bring them back with me from Austria to take them to the French Laundry in Pasadena.
There's nothing in Austria for them?
Not that does that kind of work. Not that I know of, no. And they actually have collars sent to them from England.
To Pasadena?
Yes.
Wow.
Pasadena, it's not some low rent district. Pasadena retains its position as the Queen City of the San Gabriel Valley.
Oh, no doubt.
I mean, it's still, it's still the only place you could have had a scandal like The Graduate take place.
That's true.
I mean, I'm not saying that it was a good thing. It certainly inspired several movies and novels, etc. But it shows you, even in the early 60s, the high level of public morality in Pasadena was maintained by those who felt it incumbent on them to maintain it. How many communities have that kind of sort of neighborhood watch?
On morality like that?
Yeah.
I don't know of any.
Just Pasadena.
Why do you think that is?
Because Julia Child was born there.
Seriously?
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean, do you, okay, she's born there, but is that seriously the reason?
Oh, no. I think it's what it really is. Pasadena was settled by old-time WASPs from New England and the South, and it's maintained a very genteel outlook. And, of course, San Marino is the same thing, only more.
That's what I was thinking, too, as you were talking about the community. It's San Marino is almost like an extension of that, like a satellite.
Well, someone doesn't want to be invited to lunch at Julian ever again. I see where we're going with this. Ladies and gentlemen, you're just seeing a man who is trying to get out of the Blue Book. See, that's...
they wouldn't dare. They wouldn't dare. No,
I don't know.
No.
I could talk to the lady who is the proprietress and suggest it to her. I could say, that boy was talking trash about San Marino.
I'm too connected. Sorry. It's not going to happen.
Well, fine. Be that way. But on more important notes than snobbery, and there are more important notes, we do have, in this festive Christmas episode, we do have some shout-outs.
Yes.
At the top of the list, are you ready?
Yes.
Okie and Peter Barlow. Peter Barlow put out a very, very heartfelt shout-out, so I'm returning it. Again, if you want to know people who know how to dress, go to Ask Okie, and he and Peter will set you straight. They'll guide you on the primrose path to proper male sartorial elegance.
These two are bromancing. It's really fun to watch on the side. It's fun.
Well, you know why, don't you?
Because you have great taste in your very upper class in attitude.
Well, it really goes to a lot more than that. It's taste in literature.
Sure,
You know,
you're refined.
did you see Peter's tape reciting the Little Yellow Idol to his granddaughter?
No, I didn't.
Well, it's worth it. Peter does a really, really good job.
On his Instagram?
Yeah,
Okay,
you
I'll
can
check
find
it
it.
out.
You can find it. There's a little yellow idol to the south of Kathmandu. Of course, it's very colonial and very imperial. And it's just so awful. Oh, I feel so silly and ridiculous, as though I need to be retired from public life. No, seriously, if your reaction to that sort of thing, or to Kipling or anything like that, is weanieism, just don't. Christmas deserves better. I mean, and Christmas, every year gives me the tsuris, as our Yiddish friends say.
The what?
Tsuris, troubles, problems.
Yeah.
Worry. Because you always have the downgrading of it. Winter lights. The Christmas revels changed their name to the Midwinter Revels. And oddly enough, I didn't send them any money this year.
What group is that?
The Christmas Revels, they were called. The biggest one is in Cambridge, but they have them around the country, including Santa Barbara.
No, but what's their function?
Well, what they did is they put on these shows, these annual shows, which were celebrations of Christmas, but they were sort of multicultural. So, like one year you might have Christmas in medieval Scotland. The next year, Christmas in old California. They had one that was quite good, Christmas on an immigrant ship, coming to New York Harbor. So you have these different ethnic groups all throwing their, about 1890.
Yeah.
And it was great stuff. And I suppose they still do the same sort of thing. But when they dropped the name Christmas Revels for Midwinter Revels to be more inclusive, well, then I included myself out.
Yeah, you should get punished for that monetarily.
No.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
You're going to do that kind of thing? Fine. You don't need to do it with my money.
Yeah.
The government has tons to give you. Go to them.
Yeah.
So, but I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, and it is Christmas.
Yes, that's right.
And because it's Christmas, there are several other things to point out. One is, I am home for Christmas. You don't even have to wait to see. You can count on me. Now,
yeah.
Please you can't have snow, but you could have mistletoe. And definitely presents under the tree. You know where Christmas Eve is going to find me?
Where the love light gleams?
Exactly. I'll be home for Christmas, and not just in my dreams.
Beautiful.
It is, although I have to admit I miss Austria very much. I'd be lying if I said otherwise. And another shout out, all you folk in Vienna and at the ITI. I'll be home on the 17th, gang, and then we will party like it's 2025. Because it will be. But let's see, what else can I say?
You got one more? Ruru?
Ah, yes. Shout out to Ruru, because today is December 21st, my Indian godson, Ruru Ghoshal. Happy St. Thomas's Day. Patron saint of India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Ceylon, all the countries of the Raj. Yes, the stability of the empire and the izzat of the Raj. Let me see. Kipling. I can't think of any Kipling Christmas poems. I wonder if there are any. Let's see.
Ooh.
That is an interesting question. Kipling Christmas poems.
You would think there would be.
You would.
He has that sort of
everything.
sentimentality, too, I feel like.
Yeah, he wrote about everything. Kipling Christmas poem. There we go. Dim dawn behind the tamarisks, the sky is saffron yellow, as the women in the village grind the corn, and the parrots seek the riverside, each calling to his fellow. That the day the staring Easter day is born. Oh, the white dust on the highway. Oh, the stenches in the byway. Oh, the clammy fog that hovers, and at home they're making merry neath the white and scarlet berry, What part have India's exiles in their mirth? Full day behind the tamarisks, the sky is blue and staring, as the cattle crawl afield beneath the yoke. And they hear one o'er the field path who is past all hope or caring to the ghat below the curling wreaths of smoke. Call on Rama, going slowly as you bear a brother lowly. Call on Rama, he may hear perhaps your voice. With our hymn books and our psalters, we appeal to other altars, and today we bid good Christian men rejoice. High noon behind the tamarisks, the sun is hot above us, as at home the Christmas day is breaking wan. They will drink our healths at dinner, those who tell us how they love us, and forget us till another year be gone. Oh, the toil that knows no breaking, oh the Heimweh ceaseless aching. Heimweh is homesickness. Oh, the black dividing sea and alien plain. Youth was cheap, wherefore we sold it. Gold was good, we hoped to hold it. And today we know the fullness of our gain. Gray dusk behind the tamarisks, the parrots fly together, as the sun is sinking slowly over home. And his last ray seems to mock us, shackled in a lifelong tether that drags us back however so far we roam. Hard her service, poor her payment, she is ancient tattered raiment, India, she the grim stepmother of our kind. If a year of life be lent her, if her temple's shrine we enter, the door is shut, we may not look behind. Black night behind the tamarisks, the owls begin their chorus, as the conchs from the temple scream and bray. With the fruitless years behind us and the hopeless years before us, let us honor, O my brother, Christmas Day. Call a truce then to our labors, let us feast with friends and neighbors, and be merry as the custom of our caste. For if faint and force the laughter, and if sadness follow after, we are richer by one mocking Christmas past. It's a pretty grim poem.
Yeah. Have you ever been to India?
No.
Any desire to visit?
Yes.
Yes. What would you visit?
If I could visit India, I will tell you what I would visit. I would not go to the Ganges and dip my foot in the water. I'll tell you what I want to see in India. I would like to see Calcutta. I would like to see Shimla in the hills. I would like to see Madras. I would like to see Uttarakhand in the hills. I would like to see Goa, Portuguese Goa, and venerate the shrine of St. Francis Xavier. I would like to go to Bombay. And I would like to go to New Delhi and Old Delhi, see the Red Fort and the Viceregal Palace, where now the President of India sits surrounded by the Viceregal Bodyguard, now called the Presidential Bodyguard, in the same uniform.
If you could do that, if you could visit India, all expenses paid for, but you had to take a boat and go across the Indian Ocean to get to India, would you do that?
India from where?
From... Let's say go around. Let's stay from France or Germany, and you go all the way around the Horn of Africa.
I wouldn't. I go through the Suez Canal.
Or that way.
From Britain.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. P&O steamer. Yeah, I'd do it. All expenses paid.
Okay. I thought, because we were talking last episode, and I was wondering how much of a threat the pirates were in the Indian Ocean.
Oh, they're a threat.
Yeah. But you'd still do it. You'd roll the dice.
Well, they don't get everybody.
Well, that's what I'm saying, right? Like, you're playing Russian roulette.
Well, one thing though is that they have stepped up the multinational fleet that hunts them.
Oh, okay.
I mean, things are a lot better now than they were 5 years ago.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'd...
you do that deal. Okay.
I would do that. And then, now mind you, I might hope to be given a pistol. You know, in case we were... I mean, think about it. Elderly podcaster dies in pirate attack on P&O steamer. Now, wouldn't that be a way to go out?
That would be. Yeah. Okay.
my audience would never forget me.
That's right.
At least, well, not for a month anyway. See?
Okay.
That would be an exciting way to go.
Sure. Do it for the fame.
I would be willing to do it with Gavin Newsom.
So
What?
This is getting a little morbid.
Well,
Okay.
no. Hold on.
This is
Here we are. This is a Christmas wish. Me, Gavin Newsom. Let's see who would be another fun character to have on this. Oh, and Emmanuel Macron, and the three of us would meet our ends fighting for freedom aboard the P&O steamer RMS Incredible. We would go down in the annals of something or other.
Wow.
What? The Voyage of the Incredible. You could see the book written.
Okay, that's your Christmas wish. Okay.
Burial at sea, the three of us. You know, we gave our lives to the women, men, and children aboard.
Beautiful.
The Incredible might never have completed its journey had we not been willing to stand up.
Incredible. Legendary.
Legendary.
Yeah.
You know, this is the Incredible. This is one the trio met their heads on, fighting off the pirates.
Okay.
And think of what it would do. I mean, look, both Newsom and Macron, if they were to die in their beds 20 years from now, they'd be remembered as failed politicians. But if the three of us go out in a blaze of glory, fighting the pirates, wouldn't that resuscitate all of our memories?
Yeah.
Everyone who'd ever known any of us would be proud.
It's actually true.
Yeah, see? There might be an annual commemoration of the day.
There definitely would.
Yeah. So, who'd have the last laugh then, smart guy?
Well, why do you, in that sense, why are you picking these losers? Isn't that
Well,
like a nice gesture on your part?
They wouldn't be losers then.
Well, that's very charitable.
They'd be heroes.
Okay.
I mean, the Henry brothers would play two of them in the biopic. I don't know who'd play me.
That's actually true. I could see that very easily. Who'd play you? Ooh, Tom Wilkinson? I don't know.
I don't know either. Peter Barlow.
Peter Barlow?
I don't know.
You'd have to put on some weight for that one. Sorry.
Ladies and gentlemen, and this is a friend. Put on some weight.
Yes.
You could put on one of those, those big fat things. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Or just wear a pillow. See, I can do Santa now, and I don't need to put on a pillow.
Yeah, that's true.
Yo ho ho, huh?
Yeah.
And a bottle of eggnog.
Yeah.
All right, that's enough of that folderol. But we got the other folderol left. Today is the Feast of St. Thomas. By the time you see this, ladies and gentlemen, it'll be the 23rd. You'll be staring Christmas in the face. Remember, as we always warn you, it does not end December 26th. It goes on and on. You have the 26th is Boxing Day. The 27th is St. John. The 26th is also St. Stephen's Day, St. John's Day. 28th is the Holy Innocents. 29th is St. Thomas of Becket. The 30th is Zephyria. The 31st is St. Sylvester. The 1st is the Feast of the Circumcision. The 2nd, 3rd, and 4th are respectively the octave days of Stephen, John, and the Holy Innocents, but also St. Elizabeth Ann Seton and St. John Neumann are in there, somewhere. The 5th is Twelfth Night, Epiphany Eve. The 6th is the Epiphany. 12 days of Christmas coming up, ladies and gentlemen. 12. And you know what that means?
What does that mean?
It means that they've got to keep the Christmas joy going, but not ending it at the Epiphany either. It's got to somehow hold on a bit until Candlemas. And really, Mardi Gras is the last breath of Christmas.
This is an appealing proposition.
No, I thought it might be.
Yeah.
We got to keep the beat going on, ladies and gentlemen, especially because whether you're happy or not, or both, or neither, with the political changes here and abroad, none of them are as important as the life you yourself are leading. That's an important thing to remember. And whether you find the current situation wonderful or hateful, it's not nearly as important as the situation you create around you. And that is something to bear in mind. I mean, that was why the 3 heroes fought off the pirates in the Indian Ocean aboard the RMS Incredible.
That's right. That's exactly right.
We will never forget their brave sacrifice. And you know, when the Incredible came steaming into Bombay Harbor, the bands playing, the flags waving, I'll never forget what was said that day about that intrepid trio.
What?
We shall not see their likes again, as we never saw them before. It was a brilliant event. Christmas heroism. Can you imagine insidious pirates attacking on Christmas Day? What a terrible thing. But they answered them with gunshot. And even though they lost their lives, they drove them off.
That's amazing, because you didn't etch yourself just simply in a sort of a yearly commemoration. It's like you fused yourself into Christmas itself.
That's part of Christmas, yeah.
So that's like next level.
Yeah, it's part of the whole Christmas story. Just like people will tell the story of the birth of our Lord, they'll tell a Christmas carol, they'll tell about Frosty the Snowman and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Well, on that level, not the gospel, but on the level of Rudolph and Frosty, they'll tell the story of the intrepid trio aboard RMS Incredible.
Wow.
The voyage of the Incredible will go down as a Yuletide tale. And we owe it all to you.
Oh, well, I feel like just opened up Pandora's box or something like that.
You're like one of those women in horror movies who, oh, I wonder what this is. I wouldn't open that if I was you, honey. Whoop! Oh. All right. It is Christmas, though.
It is Christmas. I hope you all are having a nice Advent season. Let's do some questions.
Well, can I just say, though, that last Christmas I blew up my brains and what?
Oh, yeah, I don't like the, I gave it to someone, this Christmas I'll give it to someone special. That's one of my least favorite songs.
Mine, too. And the implication is that Christmas, it wasn't to someone special.
Right.
I mean, what they're saying is, last Christmas I gave you my heart.
Yeah.
The very next day you gave it away. This year, to save me from tears, I'll give it to someone special.
Yeah.
Meaning that, well, you know what? If you're going to give your heart away at Christmas or any other time to some random Joe Blow, you deserve what you get.
I think we are called to love freely.
Yeah. There is that. Yeah, I love the first thing that turns up. Did you see that pigeon over there? I think I'm in love. All right, fine. Let's get on with the questions.
All right. Tampa to
Love feeling. This chair.
That's okay. Just all right. Let's keep it clean. All right. Tampa Tobacconist says, "Will Charles please explain the historical development of the heresy of modernism?"
Well, yes, I will. Basically, modernism is the idea that, religiously speaking, there's no such thing as fixed truth. It's the idea that religious quote-unquote truth is simply mankind's apprehension of the unseen, of the mysteries beyond it at this moment in its development. So what that means is that religion is that mankind is ever evolving, and the religion of man must evolve with it.
Okay.
So, but at the bottom of it too is what you might call a sort of scientificist view. So there's no such thing as miracles, for instance. So for the modernist, the miraculous, the angels, the demons, all this kind of stuff are simply stories that were told to convey religious truths in a language that the people of the time would understand. As time goes by, and the 19th century scientificism was a big role in that, we have to reinterpret all of these given beliefs in line with where we are now. So there are no more demonic possessions. We understand these are all psychological complexes.
Got it.
And so it goes. Now, of course, the problem with that for Catholicism is that Catholicism is really anchored in the miraculous, or the unseen, and the unbelievable. Modernism was an attempt to square the new 19th century view of things with Catholicism, and it failed because inherently you can't really do that. But it, after first being persecuted in the early 19th century, it sort of went underground, and now is probably the dominant view of a big chunk of the hierarchy in the church today.
Let's go back in time a little bit prior to the 19th century. Let's talk about the Enlightenment a little bit. Did the Enlightenment in any way pave the road for
sure.
modernism, right?
Sure.
Because you have people like Kant, where you're trying to come up with a philosophy of ethics that is
not dependent on the transcendent.
Exactly.
No, you're right. I mean, the Enlightenment certainly paved the way. And it's interesting that while the French Revolution and attendant horrors, on the one hand, bred a reaction to all of this, romanticism.
Yeah.
At the same time, in certain areas, in certain ways, it almost institutionalized the Enlightenment. So, in 1815, you had a very widespread rejection of the ideals of the Enlightenment on the part of many, many people. But the Code Napoleon was now the established law for most of Central Europe. And so it went. So it went. The 19th century saw Bonapartist governments, you might say, established in virtually every nation in Europe. And then, if that weren't bad enough, since 1945, I would say, what has dominated most countries has been the sort of but it's hard to put a name to it, because you can call it liberalism, you can call it leftism, but none of these really describe the entirety of the dominant mindset.
What was the date you threw out there for this one?
Sorry?
Did you say 1945?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I always remember you've said this for quite a while in the show. I love the first time you said it, where you talked about Napoleon and obviously his defeat, and the way you said it, you said we thought we stuffed that genie back in the bottle,
Yeah, and
but then sooner or later everyone's Napoleon,
and
and
then
so too with Hitler.
so true with Hitler. We figured we'd stuff that genie back in the bottle in 1945, but now, um, you when it comes to euthanasia, abortion, um, a lot of things, uh, our dominant elites think very much the way the Nazis did. By that, I don't mean they venerate Hitler. What I mean is that, like Stalin, like Mao, like various other figures of that sort, these are all different elements within the greater body of modernism. But it is interesting to me that every year when the commemorations of the resistance come up in Europe to the National Socialists, the powers that be, because they have more in common with the National Socialists than they do with the resistance, always present the resistance. On one hand, they'll honor them for their heroism, but at the same time apologize or minimize their beliefs,
Right.
because those beliefs are the total opposite of what the modern rulership hold, as they were of what the Nazis held.
Right.
The modern rulership having a lot more in common with Hitler and the gang than with the opposition. But of course, to point that out would be unkind. And we don't want to be unkind during Christmas, do we? It's
No.
a Christmas miracle.
So we kind of you kind of already touched on this. How did modernism affect politics in 19th and 20th centuries? So we basically answered that.
Well, and it had the effect, it also had the effect of declaring basically that not the church, but forces outside the church have the responsibility of deciding what's true.
Mm.
So after the Second Vatican Council, the church basically abdicated any real say in public life.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd have occasional bishops, etc., who'd oppose abortion, oppose contraception, oppose euthanasia. But it was never the body of bishops and the Pope really fighting it. Yeah. There'd be individual Catholics inspired by their religion, but rarely the hierarchy.
Additional question on this topic. What role, if any, did modernism play in the Risorgimento, in the destruction of the Papal States in particular?
Well, several things. Firstly, it meant that for the Sardinians, what they considered national rights took precedence over the dynastic rights of the other princes of the Italian peninsula, and certainly over the rights of the popes to the Papal States. A sort of modernism later would see the loss of the Papal States as a benefit to the Church and the papacy. Whether or not that's true, and I don't think it is, it presents the fact that since the loss of the Papal States, there has been a slow but sure widening of the gap between the Holy See and reality.
Well, I remember you made such a sharp point, again, several years ago, where kind of the connection between how dependent the papacy is on Peter's pence,
yep,
and actually disciplinary action,
mm-hmm.
because you're disciplining people who are giving you a lot of money, and money that you direly need, right? So that's a factor, right?
Yeah, well, it should be.
Yeah. So okay. Next question is from John, who says, we have talked about monarchs who are deserving of sainthood, but are there any Republicans deserving of sainthood?
Well, that's a very good question. You could say, because they were Republican politicians, that Robert Schuman in France uh, the what's his name, Schumann, Alcide Gasperi in Italy, and Konrad Adenauer in Germany, all of whom have looked at at various times the possibility of sainthood. And I think Schumann is in the running. You could count them as Republicans, I guess, to the degree that they were.
Yeah.
Giulio Andreotti in Italy is another one like that.
Yeah.
But they're a small minority.
Yeah. What about Gandhi?
No.
I was trying to wake you up a little bit, but
Ain't gonna happen.
Impervious. Okay. Another question from John. He says, how did Hispanic Latino become a racial group in the United States? If you travel through Latin America, you will see many different races of people. So how did it come to be that all these peoples were lumped together?
Well, partly because it was difficult for Anglos to tell the difference. Honestly, I'm not being funny. But I've noticed that in recent years, there has been a tendency to talk about white Hispanic, non-white, and non-white Hispanic.
Okay.
So I guess you have that distinction now. White Hispanic, non-white Hispanic. But
Okay.
they too are a small minority of the workforce.
I just recently learned Ariana Grande is Italian.
Yeah.
Because it's so interesting because it's almost as if she markets herself as Hispanic.
Yeah, but she's Italian.
I'm impressed you know Ariana Grande.
Why?
I don't know. You haven't mentioned her. It's just okay. Some of the cousins know Ariana. A fan. Maybe you've seen Wicked.
No.
You didn't see Wicked?
No.
What's your opinion on Wicked?
I have none.
Why not?
I didn't see it.
Why not?
I don't know. I was busy. I was getting ready for the show.
All right.
I was practicing my lines.
Okay. Nate, we have a really serious question from Nate, who says, I have a very serious question that is probably the most important I can or will ever ask.
Oh.
I have had a really hard time the past 3 years dealing with the pain and suffering life can throw at me. It really helps being devoted to Our Lady of Sorrows, and though life is very painful, this is my question. What would you say to someone who asks, quote, why shouldn't I despair? What's the point of living if my life is so hard? End quote. Both of you feel free to share your experience with suffering and sorrow, if you feel comfortable.
Wow. Well, what can I tell you? It's part of the human condition. I mean, when my dad died, and I'm sure you may have found it the same way, it was the biggest kick in the head I'd ever gotten. He warned me it would happen. My dad did, because he lost his own father when he was quite young. And it did. And over time, I wore the black mourning band for a year. And people would say, what's that for? It's my father died, my father died, my father died, my father died. Casual people over a year. Eventually, it becomes part of you, is the best way I can put it. You don't feel good about it, but you're able to smile again at the good times and the funny things you said and that kind of thing. But you see, the nature of our life this side of the grave is that it's inherently flawed because of the fall. And there will be pain. It's unavoidable. It's unavoidable. And it also, if you'll allow it to, it can turn like that. If you're open to joy. And part of that, I think, is being grateful for what you do have, which I think is an extremely important trait to cultivate. So, to give you an example, uh, last Epiphany, I was with the Terex at Epiphany dinner, and it was a delicious dinner, but I was getting sick. I felt really, really bad by the end of the dinner, and I had to go home. I had to go home and go to sleep, which I did. I woke up in the morning. I was sick as a dog. I had no food in the house. There was snow on the ground. And I was just miserable. And suddenly, knock on the door, and it's the brothers Uriah and Basil Terek carrying huge trays of breakfast food.
Yeah.
And my horror turned to joy like that. I mean, just ching. And the funny thing about that, I asked them, I said, guys, this is great, but how did you know? Well, you didn't look too good yesterday. We figured you probably need something.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that when you're feeling miserable, look around you at other people and see if you can do something for them. That will change your attitude more quickly than anything else.
That's a good one. In terms of, the circumstances for my dad's death, there's a handful of things. So I got engaged in winter of December 2019. My dad passed away January 2020. I had just barely gotten the job that October. I just barely finally got a good job. And so that's why the engagement soon followed. And then beginning of 2020, COVID hits. Wedding. My dad is dead. I'm grieving. Job is. I get let go. Wedding indefinitely postponed. Everybody's in lockdown and all the personal trauma that comes with that. I can't even get to the sacraments. This guy's getting me black market confessions. When on confessions, you're jammed into this courtyard, and the guy next in line is like 2 feet away from you, and you're like whispering to the priest, like you're I felt like this is a lot right now. This is a lot to handle. I don't know. I don't know how much longer I could take this. So that was a trying time, but own life is trying. I can give you some more things, Nate, which perhaps you can relate to. I didn't really date or have a girlfriend for most of my 20s. I had dropped out of college. I had a lot of problems back in the day. I didn't have a decent. I kept getting rejected years after years on interviews. And it actually pretty much destroyed my self-confidence to the point where I was starting to have social anxiety because I just had no self-confidence and no value, and I felt like even on a simple conversation I would fumble it up. And so that was most of my 20s, actually. And the metaphor that I sort of adopted is I'm just sort of like the Israelites in the desert. You're waiting for deliverance. And so there's that. But because of all these experiences too, and because I consider myself a very fragile person too, I've developed sort of spiritual routines to try to. I don't know if this is the right wording, but make suffering manageable. And so some of the things I finally got to daily mass. I'm finally getting to daily mass, and I think God had to give me certain lessons in profound ways to show that how I'm basically nothing. And I go to daily mass because I feel it profoundly that I absolutely 100% need to in terms of getting that strength. But a couple other prayers, the two last things, I'll give you 2 prayer recommendations, and this is directly to combat suffering. It might not be immediately apparent, but it is. And the first one is Litany of Trust. Litany of Trust. You hear from the saints that one of the things that Jesus really likes, it really hurts, is when you're not trusting.
No.
Right? And so whenever we're worrying, That's what we're doing. And so it says, for example, and this is asking for deliverance for various things. From anxiety about the future, deliver me, Jesus. From resentment and or excessive preoccupation with the past, deliver me, Jesus. From restless self-seeking in the present moment, deliver me, Jesus. So it goes on. There's a million things. These will hit you hard at various moments and times, different ones. Uh, then part of it is that you are continually holding me, sustaining me, loving me. Jesus, I trust in you. That your love goes deeper than my sins and failings and transforms me. Jesus, I trust in you. And it goes on and on. I'm not gonna do this too much longer, but I like the one that you give me all the strength I need for what is asked. Jesus, I trust in you. That your plan is better than anything else. Jesus, I trust in you. I like that one because we always think there could be a better plan. We always think that. I think that all the time. There could be a better plan.
Yeah.
And so I kind of need that reassurance. The other prayer that I highly recommend is actually the Litany of Humility. The Litany of Humility. Because so much of suffering in this world is at the hands of other people.
Yeah.
And you hate kind of being beholden in that way, right? Like you hate people having this sort of impact and power on you. And so the Litany of Humility really strikes at the heart of that. Again, it's asking for deliverance. From the desire of being approved, deliver me, Jesus. From the fear of being humiliated, deliver me, Jesus. From the fear of being wronged, deliver me, Jesus. From the desire of being loved, deliver me, Jesus. Imagine that. Imagine if you don't need, you're basically praying to be less needy and to be stronger when it comes to dealing with others and to be entirely dependent on God. So these are the prayers that I use because I'm pretty much in the same boat, Nate. And you just basically have to get all your strength from God.
It is a hard hole to roll. But remember, too, worst comes to worst. Remember the crucifixion and the passion of our Lord. Remember the martyrdom of the saints. And above all, keep your eyes on the prize.
Yeah.
Because we have not here an abiding city. And nothing in this life is going to make you perfectly happy anyway. Not any person, not anything, nothing. They can make you happier, but they can't, at the end of the day, really fill that aching void in your heart.
And I think that's some of the wisdom that you've shared with the audience. And it's also, I think, something that is a lesson from life that becomes stronger and stronger if you're listening and paying attention as your life goes on.
It's true.
It's going to become more apparent.
It's true.
You know?
But all the more reason in the meantime to try to embrace Christmas and its attendant holidays. And if you live alone, go to the masses and liturgies this season, and try to make it as purely a religious thing as you can.
I do actually have one last thing to say. Hopefully, it's some hope. But all of the greatest sufferings in my life, all of my greatest failures in my life, have paved the way for some of my greatest joys, and some of the things that I love the most. It's really amazing when you look at it and it's like, wow, it really had to do this crazy windy road in order to get right here. And it's really amazing. I think everybody has that.
Yeah.
I think everybody has that. So there's a plan. There's a plan for your life, Nate. You're gonna be okay. All right, Xenix says, ahoy! Would Charles please elaborate on the Puritans' disdain for Christmas's Catholicity? What particular forms did the suppression take? How do we fix the leftover damage for a merry old keeping of Christmas, individually and communally? God bless. I hope ye gentlemen and all listening have an edifying rest of Advent and a Merry Christmas. Thank you, Xenix.
Well, let me see that again. Well, that's a good question. Firstly, they outlawed it. The Puritans outlawed Christmas both in the Old England and the New. They outlawed mince pie for fear somebody might be celebrating with one.
Is mince pie tasty?
Yeah.
That seems strange then. I mean, wouldn't that be unpopular?
You know, it's like during Prohibition in the beginning when a large portion of the nation grooved on being anti-booze. They didn't last long, but people felt virtuous. And you can, you know, nobody feels so strongly virtuous as a moron.
We better not do that for meat. I will become an activist if we start getting weird, getting really weird. No.
Insect meat.
No.
Crickets, yum yum.
I
Did
mean,
you see the curling lip with that when I said that? I said crickets, yum yum. I go, you look disgusted. Anyway, so they banned the sorts of games and sports and all that kind of thing, the gift giving, and certainly the taking off of work. And interestingly enough, when they were fighting the civil wars in England against the Cavaliers, the King's people, the Cavaliers sort of personified the old Christmas customs and spirit as Father Christmas. He wasn't a Santa Claus figure. If anything, he was more like the Ghost of Christmas Present or the Green Knight.
Mm.
You know, he was a very jolly figure helping the king to fight for Christmas. Then when the wars ended, the Puritans were defeated, the king was restored, but Christmas had suffered a tremendous blow. Tremendous blow. But several things occurred to help Christmas out. The first, in the English-speaking world, was Sir Walter Scott, who wrote about the old medieval Scots Christmases and did so much to make things Catholic and medieval respectable in England again. Meanwhile, across the sea, in the city of New York, was a young gentleman called Washington Irving. And Irving was familiar with the Dutch practices for Christmas, which there were quite a few. And he wrote about St. Nicholas and all that. And then he went to England, and he met Sir Walter Scott. And Sir Walter Scott, in turn, sent him to a place called Aston Hall near Birmingham, which was presided over by one Geoffrey Bracebridge, who's a friend of his. And there he saw an attempt at keeping up an old English Christmas medieval style, with all the tenants coming in to dine in the great hall with the lord of the manor, and all this wonderful stuff. So he turned that into several essays in the sketchbook of Geoffrey Crabb, and eventually came out with a whole book dedicated to the calendar year at Aston Hall, Bracebridge Hall, as it was called in the book. Well, he in turn was read by a young fanboy named Charles Dickens. And Charles Dickens got really excited by this Christmas stuff. So he in turn wrote Christmas Carol, a lot of other Christmas stuff. Around that time, Queen Victoria got married, and she got married to a German prince named Albert of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha, who brought the Christmas tree to England. And from there, it swiftly came to the United States. And Christmas has never looked back in the English-speaking world. But gone was the Lord of Misrule. Gone was the nonstop partying for 12 days. Gone was a lot of things, which we have had to try to recapture in our own time. And to those of you who are more successful than I am doing it, God bless you. Keep it up. For those of you who are less successful than I am, not to worry. Better luck next year. 12 days. Keep it going.
Yeah, I feel like we're so much of. I feel like Tumblr House's mission, kind of instilled by you, as Pierre Bontemps, It's. I feel like there's largely a perception of Christianity that it's puritanical in nature, that it's buzzkills, a bunch of buzzkills, a bunch of squares, um, the no fun police.
Well, you've got to bear in mind that
And
a good deal of the reason for that is that we are a Puritan nation at the bottom.
yeah, right, right.
So our dominant form of religiosity, although it's gotten most of the life sect out of it, is Puritanism.
Yeah.
And that crops up all over the place, and not just amongst Protestants.
Mm.
Very often, as I have, you make long trips with Americans. You'll see that very often they distrust anything that's pleasant or enjoyable. I remember when I was a kid, there was an advertisement for a Stouffer's pies. And the photo takes a bite and says, "So delicious, it's almost sinful." What's that?
Yeah.
I couldn't see the connection between sin and delicious.
Yeah.
I could see where maybe if it was terrible, it would have been sinful, but not delicious. So, at any rate, overcome all of that.
Oh yeah.
Christmas is coming. The geese are getting fat. Soon to put a penny in the old man's hat. If you had a penny, a halfpenny'll do. If you had a halfpenny, God bless you.
Yeah. That we've gone through all the questions. Any last comments, Charles?
Well, yes, I think so.
Yeah.
You see, it came upon the midnight clear, a glorious song of old, of angels bending near the earth to touch the harps of gold. Peace on the earth, goodwill toward men, from heaven's all gracious King. The world in solemn stillness lay, to hear the angels sing.
That's nice. I really like that over, some potential alternatives like fake ghost stories designed to trick me and make me feel feelings. Remember that?
Yes.
We have a video clip of Christmas ghost stories. If you guys look at that on the Tomer House channel, he has, we actually have a lot of great, beautiful Christmas videos. That Christmas story not being one of them, but I remember you also have Charles has an incredible talk on the importance of wonder.
Yes.
Of Christmas, the wonder of Christmas. It's one of the most beautiful, most touching, I feel like, talks I've ever heard. So we have a lot of Christmas content on the Tumblr House channel. If you didn't get your fill, be sure to look it up. And there's a lot there.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's funny. Some few years ago, well, about 40 years ago, but who's counting, Time Life Books began a series called The Enchanted World, which you may have heard of. There were, fairies and elves, wizards and witches, tales of valor, so on and so forth. Only one holiday got its own book in the Enchanted World. You know what that was?
Christmas.
Exactly. Because in so many ways, ladies and gentlemen, Christmas, in addition, I mean, it's a celebration of the Incarnation, the beginning of our salvation, all true. But in a certain sense, it's a particular portal into the world of wonder, the world made golden. You begin with Christmas, and then you can get out with the rest of it. Easter is the superior feast, liturgically speaking. But Easter, aesthetically speaking, I think because of the spring and the pastels are just not that memorable, it doesn't have the distinctions, the loud clanging of Christmas. The light shining in darkness.
Yeah.
As opposed to pastels, reds and greens.
Yeah.
It's a very different, the holly and the mistletoe versus the Easter lily.
Mm.
I mean, these, which you might call the secular or the civilian aspect of Easter, just can't compare with that of Christmas.
Well, that's an interesting comparison, and I would ask, to what extent does the penitential nature of Lent and sort of that season, does that put it at I guess a cultural disadvantage?
I think so.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Where it's like Christmas is all the sort of the excitement and the hope and sort of the sugariness and celebration. Lent is like sackcloth and ashes.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, it's penance.
Yeah, so
It's penance,
You know?
But Christmas is about joy, and there's little enough of it in this life.
yeah.
So cling to Christmas with all your heart.
Mm.
And remember, above all, chestnuts roasting on an open fire, Jack Frost nipping at your nose. Although it's been said many times, many ways, Merry Christmas. You know, I always think of Frosty the Snowman going off with Santa Claus
Why?
to go to the North Pole so it wouldn't melt. You okay?
Those they don't intersect though. This isn't the metaverse.
No, they do. Just at the end of Frosty the Snowman, he goes off with Santa.
The claymations are different.
I can't tell you what. All I'm telling you is that he goes off at the end of the Frosty the Snowman, the cartoon with Jimmy Durante as the narrator, features him going off with Santa at the end.
What's Santa's relationship with Krampus?
Well, Krampus
We're
is
gonna
his
merge here.
nasty partner. But
Okay.
I mean, look, Frosty the Snowman is a fairy tale, they say. What?
Go on.
But the children know he could laugh and play just the same as you and me. See, there must have been some magic in that old silk hat they found. Because when they put it on his head, it began to dance around. Frosty the Snowman had to hurry on his way. He said, he said goodbye. He said, don't you cry. I'll be back on Christmas Day. He came back with Santa and Rudolph.
I see.
You feel better now?
I feel better.
All right.
All right. What is it if it's Monday?
Off the menu.
What about the soul you save?
It might be your own. Merry Christmas, gang, and we shall see you next week.